This time on Rad Rat Video, we're talking about skate fashion of the 90s, and we're talking about what video parts you would take back to the 90s to blow people's minds. Let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome back to Rad Rat Video, the channel where you can learn all about skateboarding 3 times a week, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I have a lot of different series about skateboarding culture, but this one is where I answer your questions on this series, Ask Rad Rat. So I have a few of them for you today. Let's just get into it. The first one is from 11, who asked, what happened to cool skate fashion of the 90s? Back then, skaters weren't afraid to take chances with their fashion and wore bright colors and crazy stripes, etc. Skaters today all look like carpenters, lumberjacks, or rappers. Do you think it has to do with skateboarding becoming more trendy, thus leading to self-consciousness and the need to fit in, rather than the need to express or find oneself? So I only answer this because I want to see what you guys say. I want you to answer him too, because I'm not really sure if I see the same thing. So yeah, back in the 90s, you would see bright colored pants, you would see the Charlie Brown stripe that everyone was wearing all the time. You'd see a lot of different stuff like that, but everyone was doing that. So I think that the 90s were actually more judgmental as far, when you get into the mid 90s, especially what tricks you were allowed to do and what you were dressed as. It was more different from your average person on the street, but it was still just as judgmental. So I don't know. Styles have definitely changed. If you see one 90s video part out of context, it looks like that guy is kind of crazy and dresses all weird, but that was just a little bit normal at the time. So I'm not really sure if it worked out like that. One thing that I would definitely say has changed though is sponsorships. So it seemed like back in the day, there were only a few skate shoes, for example. You might do a whole video part in random basketball sneakers that you bought at the store. And clothing was definitely the same way. I don't think clothing sponsors are really as big of a deal as they are today. So nowadays it's more about having the right t-shirt with the right logo of your brand and all that kind of stuff. So I think that may have a little bit to do with what you're talking about. But I want to hear what you guys have to say to him below as well. Second question, and the big one for this video, is from Drew in West LA, who asks, if you could go back in time to 1996, what modern day video part would you show them and what would their reaction be? So I'm not sure why 96 specifically, because it's 21 years ago. But anyway, I posted this question on Twitter just to get some more answers from you guys, to get a little bit more perspective, and I thought that I had some pretty interesting answers to this question. So here's a few of them. From Open Source Skateboards, they suggested Takashi Suzuki and said that he gave me a whole new perspective. So I'm showing some of his footage here. It's freestyle, but not in a way that you would think. It's sort of like a not technical freestyle. When I think of freestyle, the first thing that comes to mind is very technical flip tricks to rail or to Casper or stuff on the truck. Maybe some handstands, that kind of thing, but this is more just really casual footwork done with a lot of style and really interesting. You really don't see anyone else skate like this. And I could see taking this back to the 90s and showing people. I think it'd be kind of fun to show them stuff, a couple of these that I'm going to talk about, to show them this stuff and let them think that this is common now, and just kind of see what kind of reaction you would get. But with this one, I think it is pretty cool. I don't know what they would think back in the 90s of this. Freestyle had been dead for a few years, not old enough to be like retro and cool potentially, but just old garbage, So I don't know if this one would go over too well, but it is pretty cool these days. Next one I got was from Fred Dumont, who suggested Chris Joslin in Plan B True or Mark Appleyard in Flip Sorry. Both very good videos. Flip Sorry, it's not as modern. It wouldn't have been that big of a jump from 96. So I'm not sure. I think that would be pretty cool. Both of these would be remarkable, the best video part of all time if it came out in the 90s for sure, and it would blow everyone's minds. So both of those would be really good choices too. The next one was from Alex Starbuck, who suggested Brandon Westgate in Made Chapter 1. And I think this one would have been a great one because this video part is so fast and powerful that I think it would really speak to the 90s, 96 especially, kind of mindset in skateboarding. So tech was dying off, going slow, crawling around the ground, doing a triple flip was not really a thing anymore. It was more about gaps and style and speed and everything. And this really epitomizes that thought process in skateboarding, but it takes it a lot further than anyone did at that time. So that would definitely be a good choice. Chris suggested Dane Berman in the Zero video. Again, a lot better than what people were doing back then. I think that would go over pretty well. But also, he suggested Richie Jackson, which I didn't even think of. That would be an awesome one to take back, just to get some reactions out of that. Because it seems to me like skateboarding at the time was more about doing things that were correct, like officially legitimate skateboarding. And the stuff that he does is really not. You know, jumping off your board and sliding on your feet and jumping back on. Stuff that's not really technically appropriate for skateboarding, but he does it so well and it's so good and he does it with style that might actually change how skateboarding went if it came out at the right time and got into a major video and was released to people. I think that would have a pretty big effect on skateboarding. So those were all for the suggestions I got, but I had a couple that I thought of. First was Mark Johnson in Fully Flared, and I thought that would be an interesting one because people in the 90s would know Mark Johnson. He had video parts, 94 I think was his first one. So this would be someone that they are familiar with, someone that they know potentially, personally, doing this insane stuff that no one had even thought of at the time. And I would really love to see the reactions of people seeing Mark, you know, that new kid over there who just had his first video part, doing stuff that no one's ever done before. That would be a pretty cool one. Second one I thought of was, I never know how to say his name, Jeff DeCesare, you know who I'm talking about. He had a Crux part, and I thought it was really, really good. And I really like it. I really like the stuff that he does, the kind of skating that he does. But I think it'd be really interesting to take that back and just get people to think that that was common. Because, you know, today's production values with a computer, it's easy to do something that would have been a crazy high-tech feat back in the day. So you could convince people that this was the biggest skater in the world. That this guy, you know, he had all the big budget, best sponsors, and this was where skateboarding was right now, and just see what they thought. Because it's kind of the opposite of where skateboarding was going at the time. You know, like I talked about, tech was dying out and it was more about simple tricks done well. Well, doing a triple flip down 10 set, I really wonder what people would have thought of this. I think it would not have gone over all that well, and I really wonder what people would have thought. But my real answer for what people should see would be Shane O'Neill in the new the Nike SB video. It just came out a little bit ago, and it's ridiculous. You know, everything's perfectly clean, but super tech, and it's on handrails. All kinds of stuff that was just unheard of, unbelievable at the time. No one would believe a single trick that you see in that video. That would probably blow the most minds of anything I could think of. So those are my answers for that one. If you have any questions, send them to me on Instagram or Twitter. I have links to those below. If you sent them in August and I didn't respond to you, might have been because I was just taking a break. So send them again if you don't mind. I will try to get all of those in the process soon. So thank you, and thank you for watching. Here's some more videos you might want to check out. I have a lot more than just these Ask Grad Rats. Do a lot of different skateboarding culture things, so subscribe. You can keep learning new things about skateboarding 3 times a week.